I'm Veronica Bratcher. I am a licensed therapist and the clinical director of Wildflower Mountain Ranch.
I'm Bridget Kilgro, and I'm the executive director here at Wildflower Mountain Ranch.
My name is Lacey, and I am a youth mentor here at Wildflower Mountain Ranch.
Veronica, can you tell parents out there when is it time to seek a residential treatment step? It's a big step. And how do they know if that's what they need to do? And then the other part of it, I guess, is, we started Wildflower together and we wanted it to be different. And what's different about Wildflower opposed to what's traditionally out there?
So starting with the bigger question of when is it time to seek residential treatment, what we start with is there are typically two avenues that we're looking at. The first one is the most traditional and probably the most insurance and parent chosen is you're doing baby steps. Okay, you're starting with therapy. Maybe you're once a week and then twice a week, and then things are still not getting better. So then maybe you're going multiple times a week or to day treatment and you're going every day, but things are still not getting better. And so that is a time when it's like, okay, we're going to as much treatment as possible and things are not improving. That's an opportunity where residential treatment is a good opportunity to intervene because it's like, okay, we're in the same environment and doing all the treatment and we're not seeing the changes. The second option, which happens frequently, is that you have your kiddo in the situation and they're starting to make some dangerous decisions and they're really starting to level up, either because their behaviors, they're having a lot of suicidal ideation, their self-harm is increasing, maybe they're starting to run away, and maybe they are just incredibly struggling and you're to the point where you're probably going to the hospital because they're having significant suicidal thoughts or maybe even a suicide attempt. And the concern is that to wait and try out all of these intensive levels of processing feels concerning because you're at a point where, hey, my kiddo is really struggling and I don't know that we have time to try this out for another 3 to 6 months. So those are the other opportunities where you may skip a step and you go from just regular going to therapy instead of day treatment, sometimes because it's not available. But if your child is struggling to the point where their safety and their well-being is at a higher risk and they need that care sooner versus later. Stepping on to the next category of why is Wildflower different? Well, there's a lot of reasons Wildflower is different. It's a women-owned, women-run company. And that's really different when you look at the traditional elements of residential treatment. It is all about that home type environment versus an institutional environment. It's the environment where, unfortunately, your kids will complain that there are too many moms looking after them saying, hey, have you brushed your teeth? No, we're not going to talk like that. Yes, we're going to try this differently without being their mom, because that can be a barrier sometimes with our kiddos. One of the other things that's different is that we really look to avoid the institutional approach where you have a bigger group of kids that are together and they're all kind of falling in line. They have absolutely super strict structures, which can be beneficial and necessary for large groups of kids, but also can leave a lot of kids getting lost, meaning it's really easy to blend in with the background when there's a large group of kids. And maybe we have a shyer kid or a quiet kid who's really just struggling with that internal pain and that internal self-harm, or struggling with some of the elements of adoption or of abuse, and they need a place to feel seen and heard. And Wildflower is all about that. And it's all about connecting with life, connecting with nature, connecting with animals, to where you're not here to be a hospital patient. You're here to learn skills, connect with people, be an environment where you still maintain that connection with your family. That's one of my favorite parts about our program, is that you do not have an indefinite waiting period where you come in where you're allowed to call your parents. We are so crazy attachment focused that you call your parents the same day you get there. And because parents want to hear that you're doing okay and what that looks like. And you get to know my parents are still there, even though I may be here in that program. Contact with parents is not contingent upon behavior. Your parents don't have to just love you. And if you're good, you can then talk to your parents. No, you get to talk to your parents. You may not get to talk to your parents in the middle of a meltdown because sometimes people say things they don't mean, and that can be stressful to their parents. But you can talk to your parents every day if that's something you want to set up, because that relationship is critical. And that's one of our strongest priorities. As much as it might be a challenge for us as staff sometimes, it's critical in maintaining those relationships. And so that's one of my favorite parts of our program is it's very much about the family, the unit, maintaining those connections and attachments and rebuilding those, because sometimes in some of the choices that the kids have struggled with, those relationships are struggling.
Damaged sometimes. Yeah.
What do you notice is different about Wildflower, Bridget?
No, it's true. A variety of women
Mm-hmm.
and that were in a similar situation that these moms were in at one time. So there's like a level of understanding where mom's coming from. We don't automatically think mom is a bad person, and that they do want what's best for their child. And so they don't want their child to be at a detention center necessarily, because we're not a detention center. They see great qualities in their kids as much as they want to wring their neck. But here, we don't wring necks here. And so I think that's different. We are, a child that's experienced trauma or abuse has been, touched too many times in the wrong way. And so we're non-restraint and we're non-seclusion, and we have additional patience towards behavioral problems. We don't see the kid as a bad kid just because their behavior is bad. They have some bad behavior, but they're not a bad kid. And so many moms, I think that about their kid. It's not a bad kid. She's wonderful in all these ways, but I love her, but I can't live with her right now. And so I think we're more of a team for that mom to say she will be safe here. We're not going to mistreat her. We're not detentional. We're going to do what you would hope we would do. She's sick at night. And I think that's missing in a lot of programs. And there's a lot of different types of moms here. So if one child doesn't necessarily take to one personality or another, well, I've seen them gravitate towards a couple of the different staff that we have. And I think, oh, that staff has their trust. I may not, she may not, you may not, but that staff does. And so I think we're not all clones of each other.
It's like a tag team, it's like this person gets to take a step down and relax or just out of the environment, and then someone else new comes in and we have all the patience and the love in the world.
Yeah, I think we're learning how to like conserve our energy when we're not in the presence of the girls, and then be ready when we are, which is impossible for a mom 24 hours a day and staff 24 hours a day. But we're learning the balance of coming fresh and with new patients. But a mom doesn't get that opportunity, to have that team behind her. So I think that's how we're different, is that we don't just assume that all parents are terrible because their child is misbehaving or struggling. That somehow the parent did something to make them struggle this way. We get it, but that's not really always the case. Sometimes they have a wonderful parent that tried everything, but it needs the love and support of other women who say it's okay. We'll take her for a little while, and we'll make sure she's with her therapist. We'll make sure she's getting her medication. We'll make sure she's getting her exercise. We'll make sure she's eating good nutrition. We'll make sure that she knows that we see the good in her every day, and then return her to you, hopefully, with a little bit more maturity and a little bit more compassion for you, hopefully, understanding of how things got off in the first place. We're just trying to not be what's out there actively.